I know.
Ooh.
I know that you had said that this would be informal, Scott, but I actually did prepare just some slides. If you,
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me do this. I'll make you a co-host here, which is the only way I know to enable you to share. And while you're gearing that up, I'm going to read something off from the VegMichigan website. I would invite everybody to go there, find Kim Korona, and read the whole thing. It says here that Kim joined VegMichigan in 2023. Only Kim? Wow. Currently serving as a program manager responsible for outreach efforts by providing presentations, coordinating the 30-day plant-based pledge program, arranging plant-based tastings, hosting meetups, and building connections at tabling events. She supports the City of Ann Arbor collaboration through community education programs and working with food service businesses and organizations in adopting plant forward practices. Most recently, she and Tom in VegMichigan set up a Veg Ypsilanti, in which I was happy to go to on a hot summer day here in Michigan. It's the neighboring town of Ann Arbor, and it was incredible. Kim holds a master's in education from Cambridge College in affiliation with the I.H.E. You're going to tell us in a second what I.H.E. is, Kim, and a certificate in humane education. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. She received her BA from Goddard College in affiliation with Green Mountain College after completing her senior study on confined animal feeding operations and earning the James M. Pollock Award for exceptional service and dedication. And now everybody can give Kim a round of applause for coming here and speaking.
well, thank you for the very nice introduction, Scott. So, yes, even though it says I've only been working at VegMichigan for 2 years, I was previously on the board when it was an all volunteer organization. And then my spouse became the first paid employee. So I was going to talk a little bit about our origin story and how that all came about. So when he was going to be a paid employee, then I stepped off the board as I felt that that was a conflict of interest. And I volunteered for the organization for 7 years while I was working for a different nonprofit. And then the demand for presentations was growing and programs was growing, and so my spouse recused himself, and then the board hired me. So me and my spouse both work at VegMichigan now. So yeah, so the other organization I worked for was based in New York, and I did live in New York for 6 years, and I worked as a full-time humane educator. So I was there with them for 15 years. And I taught social justice for humans, animal protection, environmental ethics to young people. I taught kids everywhere from kindergarten through high school. And then I also did college programs, and I did teacher training. So I taught teachers how to incorporate humane education into their everyday classroom curriculum. So that's a little of my background. And I still love that organization. I'm still in touch with them, and I support them. So with that, I guess I'll get started with the slides. And is my screen sharing? Oh, it is. Okay, you can see it.
It
Okay.
is.
Okay. So do you see this first slide with the raspberries?
We do. You're
Oh,
not in presentation mode just yet, but
oh,
you're in a
okay.
perfectly good mode. Maybe you've got two. Do you have two screens over there?
Okay, I wonder, this has happened to me sometimes in the past because on my end it says from the beginning and it shows just the one. So let me see if I can try again how to, I don't know why sometimes the presentation mode seems to have a
Yeah, it could
difficulty.
it could be tricky.
Okay, so, okay, share screen, window.
Yeah, maybe it's just a matter of sharing the other screen.
Okay, maybe if I try this one. Mm, to present. Oops. Oh, it's the last slide. Okay. Okay, how did that work?
It's beautiful.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, so these are actually raspberries from our garden. So I just wanted to share, some of the joy for us of plant-based eating is, we are privileged enough to grow our own food and get a lot of our healthy food from our garden. So just last night we're still eating in, late October in Michigan, salad and potatoes from our garden. So I just wanted to share that. All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about VegMichigan. I'm just going to give an introduction of our organization. I'll talk to you about our current programs, a little bit about our approach, some of the evaluation results that we've received from our programming, and a little bit of information about the future for VegMichigan, and then time for any questions that you all have. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're focused on promoting the health, environmental, and ethical benefits of a plant-based diet by offering a wide range of activities for learning and socializing. So we have educational programs where we inform people about the benefits of eating more plant-based for health, for workers in our food system, for the environment, for animals. And then we also try to have opportunities for socializing. Eating is a communal activity and eating should be joyful. And so we try to provide opportunities where people can enjoy plant-based foods and build community. So our origin story is the man on the right is JC, and he's identifies that, he says how he's a baby boomer, and when he was growing up, people just recognized that there was very big concern about the environment. And I think it was when he was a teenager, he saw I'm going to say the name of the river wrong, but the Cayuga River was on fire in Cleveland. And it was due to pollution and the local government, not realizing how serious the issue was and not, getting that cleaned up. And so he felt really compelled to take action. And so he got involved with a local environmental organization and started doing outreach and presentations at colleges throughout the Metro Detroit area. And then while he was doing all this environmental work, he continued to read and do his own research, and he learned about the impact that our food choices were having on the environment. And he, felt like at this time that wasn't something being talked about a lot. And so he changed his own food choices, his own personal behavior, and he started really focusing on that aspect of his environmental work. And then when he learned more about animal agriculture, he saw how, animals were treated in that system, how we're eating a lot more animal foods in the US than many other places, and how it's not good for our health, and how the system was harming communities and the workers weren't being treated well in that system. And so he decided that's what he was going to focus on. And he had been talking with different friends about it. So just him and regular Michiganders, a small group of friends, they got together and they formed VegMichigan. And they started off simple. They did potlucks. They would do presentations for local organizations. They would, meet at different restaurants that had some plant-based options and support them. And they strategized about what they could do. And then Paul, who's on the left, he was not involved at the very, very beginning, but just a couple years in, he got involved, and he's still on our board today. And when he got involved, he said, we need to expand this because this is information that a lot of people want to know, and it's not being out there. And so they became a more official organization. So in 1999, that is when VegMichigan became an official nonprofit. And so we've been around now 26 years. And we are still rooted in the same hope that they both had and that small group had, that informing people about eating more plant-based and trying to normalize more plant-rich eating is going to be good for people, other species
Michigan
on the
speaking.
planet.
Scott knows.
So we currently have 3 core locations. We have our main office, and we do programs in the Metro Detroit area, Detroit and the greater area, in Ann Arbor. We even sometimes do programming in Lansing. And then once in a great while, we are invited to go to a location that's farther away. And if it's within our capacity, we'll go there. So I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I went to Cairo, which is kind of near the thumb. So we will travel, but that's kind of our main location is Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Lansing. And then 2 years ago, we had some volunteers that wanted to open a chapter in Traverse City. So we have a strong presence there and programs regularly in that area. One of those volunteers became a board member. And then just this year, we had some volunteers in the Northeast area that wanted to open a chapter. And so they opened that this year, and they cover the Tawas, Escoda, and Alpena area. And actually just this past weekend, I went to Escoda and did a presentation there. So the approach that we take with our work, I kind of think of it as stemming from this quote from Maya Angelou. So she said, "I learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And so it is really important to us in our approach that, we really think about how we're making people feel when they come to our events. We want to create a really welcoming and inclusive environment. We want people to know that no matter what their current awareness is about food and the impact that it's having on people, animals on the planet, that they are welcome, no matter what their personal food choices are or behaviors, that they are welcome. And we're not here to tell people what is right or wrong or what to do. We want to provide them with opportunities to think critically and decide for themselves how they feel about the information we share. And then based on how they think and feel, they can decide what behaviors they want to take that aligns with their values and what is right for them. We really try to balance talking about the concerns of animal agriculture with the benefits of plant-based eating. So we definitely want to talk about some of the harms and the issues, but we want to balance that with positivity and hope. We try to build bridges with people. We don't try to just say, like, why isn't everyone eating more plant forward? Because we acknowledge there are barriers and reasons that people might not. Our food choices are based on our traditions, our customs, our habits. It's also dependent on what's practical for us, trying to learn new recipes or, finding foods that might be different from what we've known before, what's accessible and what's affordable. And a lot of plant-based foods can actually be more affordable than animal-based foods, but it's knowing what those foods are and having access to them. And so we try to provide really low stakes opportunities for people to get started and try. So we try to do lots of free plant-based samplings and tastings so people can just try it. And we try to give plant-based food to people at no cost as well. And then we do offer continued support. So if people are interested in eating more plant forward, we provide free services to them where they can ask us questions and we'll give them consultation and mentorship. And then we try to say that there's numerous entry points. So it's not all or nothing. There are many different ways that someone can try to eat more plant forward and see if it's something that is right for them. So our current programs and what we've been known for almost from the beginning, shortly after the organization started, we've been offering, we've held Veg Fest. So many people know us for our Spring Veg Fest, but we still do those festivals today. Our 30-day plant-based pledge. There's a lot of organizations that do some type of plant-based pledge or challenge. I think we're the only organization that includes a free bag of plant-based food with that when people sign up to take that pledge of eating more plant forward. We do presentations and food tastings. We do lots of outreach and tablings. We usually do on average like 2 events a year throughout the whole year. So some weeks we might have no events, and then some weeks we might have 5 events. So on average, we're doing around 2 events a year. We do meetups. Most of the time it's at a restaurant that offers plant-based options. There are some other types of meetups we do, but that's the majority. And then we are an official collaborator with the City of Ann Arbor's A20 plan, which is to have a just transition to carbon neutrality by 2030. And we're really grateful for this collaboration. And it has opened up a lot of doors for us to reach new individuals and new organizations. So within that collaboration, we have set tasks that we need to fulfill. And those tasks are under the umbrellas of community education, the 30-day plant-based pledge, local business engagement, and adopting plant-based policy. And we also do a monthly meetup in Ann Arbor, specifically at a food service business in Ann Arbor. So I just want to share some stats that we have on the programs that we're doing. So for our Spring Veg Fest this year, we had about 8,000 people attend. Of those, we were able to get a sample size of 300 respondents taking surveys. And what those surveys shared with us, I just pulled out a couple of the stats that we gained from that survey. But one is that we are getting a mix of people of all different, who identify with all different food choices. So 40% of the respondents say that they're vegan or fully plant-based. About 22 respondents identify as vegetarian. And then the other 40% are all different food choices, omnivore, or they consider themselves a reducitarian or a pescatarian or something else. So this is really positive to us because we're trying to attract people who don't just identify as vegetarian or fully plant-based or vegan. We're trying to attract a wide variety of people. And so we see that we are creating this environment where people of all different food choices feel welcome to come and, who are veg curious. Of the people who were not already identifying as vegan or fully plant-based, 76% of them said that they were open to trying to eat more plant-based after attending the festival. And 20% of them said that they might be interested in trying to eat more plant-based after attending the festival. For our Fall Veg Fest, that's the Veg Fest that Scott mentioned earlier, that was we had in September in Ypsilanti, and we had 1,800 people attend that festival approximately. And of that, we got about 108 people were able to get to do surveys. And again, you can see we have quite a mix of people. About half the people identify as vegan or fully plant-based. Another 18% identify as vegetarian. And then the other percentage of people identify as either omnivore or reducitarian. And then again, we have really high percentages of people who do not identify as fully plant-based. 67% of them say they're open to eating more plant-based, and 26% of them saying that they might be interested in eating more plant-based after attending. So I was just going to go into some of the specifics about our collaboration with the City of Ann Arbor and these different tasks. So under community education, part of that task was to develop resources or advertising. So we created this carbon footprint handout to educate people on why eating more plant-based can lower our carbon footprint, and just simple ways that you might add more plants into your lifestyle. We also developed a webpage, vegmichigan.org/climate, that specifically talks about food and climate and our work as a collaborator with the City of Ann Arbor. We created an Ann Arbor plant-based resource guide. So from the climate page, you can get to, there's a button that will lead you to a whole resource guide that we try to keep updated of food service businesses that have plant-based options. We also share like CSAs in the area, community supported agriculture, and farmers markets and different places where you can get plant-based foods. And then we also ran some ads on Michigan Public that directed people to the climate page. And then under community education, we have programs that include presentations and cooking demos. So that's part of the education. We do lots of outreach and tablings. We also have an initiative called Plantify, where people can host small house parties. So it's intended to be a little bit more intimate experience than a formal presentation with an organization, where we'll come to someone's home and they can invite friends and family or colleagues and neighbors. and we'll do an informal presentation about the benefits of plant-based eating for the planet, and ask people just like, what questions do you have, what barriers would you have, and maybe adding more plant-based meals into your lifestyle, and then asking how we could support them. And then we do our plant-based mentorship as well. So again, after we do outreach, if people are interested in eating more plant-based, we can provide them support by answering questions, or just any wonderings they have about how to eat more plant-based. We can be there to support them. The plant-based challenge is what the task is called. So we have people sign up for our 30-day plant-based pledge, where we're just inviting them, if they are not already fully plant-based and they're open to eating more plant-based, so whatever that means for them. So if they're completely omnivorous, they might say, I'm going to do meatless Mondays, and that's how I'm going to eat more plant-based. Some people who are vegetarian and they see how cheeses contributes a lot to climate change, they maybe say, okay, twice a week I'm going to eat fully plant-based meals. So it's whatever is right for them. They make their own commitment, and they can sign up sometimes in advance of a program, and then we bring their bag of plant-based foods that they selected. Or sometimes we do on-site sign-ups where we're tabling and people can sign up in the moment. So in year one, they wanted us to try to do 700 pledge bags. We got permission to do more because there was so much interest. So 785 people at programs in Ann Arbor signed up to participate in the pledge. In year two, we had 722 people participate. We could have had more, but there's a certain amount of funding specifically for this, because we have to use funding for the other tasks as well. So for our third year of the contract, we're in our third year currently in our collaboration. They expanded it to where we can sign up to 1,000 people to the pledge. For local business engagement, we do our monthly meal club to support restaurants that have plant-based options, and to help spread awareness to Ann Arborites about those options. We also do plant-based tastings. So we will purchase food from an establishment and then have free samples of those foods so that people know about them. And then we also are working to support food service businesses and adding plant-based options to their menu. So we're currently in the survey phase, where we are surveying food service businesses and asking them what has been their experience, if any, with serving plant-based options, what have been some challenges or barriers, and then what incentives or supports would they need. And then based on the feedback we get, we'll develop some support and incentives for food service businesses who are interested in trying to add more plant-based options. And then the plant-based default policy, this is more for organizations that might serve food at like a fundraiser, or to their staff or their volunteers or members involved in their organization. And so if there's any organization that ever serves food as part of their work, to ask them to adopt a plant-based policy. And so if that policy is that they'll be at least 50% plant-based, then there is some financial support that we can offer to them with one event within a year of adopting the policy, so that they can test it. So not every organization is necessarily ready for that 50%, but they might commit to a different percentage, and we still can help them with that. So we've had 3 organizations that have adopted a plant-forward policy during our as part of our collaboration with the city. And then I should add, so they've adopted those policies. It's been around a year for those organizations. So we are now in the process of interviewing them to see how successful the implementation has been, how it's been received, and any support that they might need to help it become more successful. So some of the results from these programs for our 30-day plant-based pledge, at the end of year one, 89.4% of the total respondents from year one said that they would continue to eat more plant-based after participating. And 92.2% of the respondents from year two said that they would eat more plant-based. And then from year one, 10.4% of the respondents said that they might continue to eat more plant-based. And 10.8% of the respondents said that they might eat more plant-based. No one who participated said that they would not continue to try to eat more plant-based. From our presentations in year one, 85.4% of respondents said that the information provided was definitely useful to them. 96.2% of the respondents in year two said that it was definitely useful to them. 93% of respondents from our presentation said that they would eat more plant-based, knowing that it would help to lower their carbon footprint. 7% said that they might eat more plant-based, knowing that it would lower their carbon footprint. 96% said that they would eat more plant-based in year two. After attending the presentation, and 3.8% said that they might eat more plant-based after attending the presentation. And then these are just some qualitative impressions. So the majority of qualitative comments that we get are very positive. People saying things like, I love the positive outlook and attitude during your programming. I like the approach that you take. Thanks for being entertaining and educational. Thanks for being enthusiastic and engaging. I like the pledge. It helps people to get started, and the speakers made plant-based eating feel easier than I thought. And I also like the positive energy, not as opposed to too much doom and gloom. So these are just some examples of feedback that we've gotten. And then just briefly, some of the lessons that we've learned. The short of it is, with our collaboration with the city of Ann Arbor, we have learned that many people are still not aware of the connection between food and carbon. They're very aware of transportation or mobility and energy, but less aware of food. And once people know about that connection, they are often open to eating more plant-based. And our surveys have also shown that a lot of people are unaware of all the different places that have plant-based options in Ann Arbor. The majority of people find the samples delicious. And once they know about where they can get the food and they've had a chance to try it, they say that they're more open to ordering plant-based options in the future. So for the future of VegMichigan, I just want to acknowledge, while I shared all the work that we're currently doing, we are undergoing our first formal strategic planning process as we become a more formal organization. We now have 5 full-time staff. We really thought it was important to do strategic planning and analyze all the programs that we have and see how we can be the most effective at what we're doing. How can we reach more people and have a bigger impact? And how can we continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the work that we're doing? So if you feel inspired by this work and you want to get involved, and first I just want to say all of you are involved in this task force, so we're so grateful to the work that you're doing. And you have people on the task force from all different places, so you're doing great work in your own communities. But if you just want to let people know the ways that they can get involved with VegMichigan, is we do have local volunteer opportunities at our office and our events. Just by spreading awareness, you're helping to do this work. As I said, a lot of people don't really know the impact that our food choices have on our larger communities. If you have any connections with food service business leaders in Ann Arbor, managers or owners that you could connect us with to complete the survey and maybe support them in adding some plant-based options. If you know of any organizations that might be interested in a presentation and a plant-based tasting, to connect us with them. If you know of any organization that serves food that might be open to a plant-based default policy, to connect us with them would be really helpful. And if you or anyone you know lives in Ann Arbor who might want to host a Plantify party, that would be a great way to help us as well. So with that, I open it up to any questions that you have. I know I'm a little past the half hour, so I don't know if we have time for questions, but if we do, I'm open to answering any questions you have.
Wow. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I do have a question. And I know this might be a difficult question, but do you feel that the awareness is changing, it's increasing, in Michigan and even in the country? Because I really feel that it's going to be a grassroots movement, and it just feels like it's taking forever, and we're really hitting against, walls.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think when we're in this work, it can feel like we have so far to go.
Yeah.
And when we look around and there's maybe not still always so many plant-based options, but when I look back at when I first got involved in, thinking about our food choices, that's what gives me a lot of hope, because I think about when I first started eating plant-based, I would go to a restaurant or and it was like so unknown. It was just like, even just the term, like people like, what do you mean you're not eating meat or dairy or eggs? Like, what do you mean? And I get that so much less now. So that's one thing. Also, when I first started eating plant-based, I I would ride my bike along down Michigan Avenue. I lived in the city of Wayne, and I would ride like a half an hour on my bike to Ypsilanti to the co-op, so that I could get foods like tofu and tempeh. And now almost every grocery store carries some good healthy
Yeah,
plant-based
that's
options,
true. Yeah.
or plant-based meat options, because a lot of people want something that's similar, and that's a good way to get started. I mean, I'll admit, I definitely eat healthier by being plant-based, but I definitely eat my plant-based burger sometimes, and but I also eat kale and brown
Yeah.
rice, and
Yeah.
so I tell people I have a mix, but the accessibility is so much more, and it's not so unusual to a restaurant to say, like, do you have any plant-based options? It's not like they would say what they might not, but they at least know what you're talking about. So that gives me a lot of hope. I think around 2019, Forbes had done an article that said, like, the year of the vegan. And I think plant-based had really sort of exploded. And then I think a lot of the animal agriculture industry saw that it was growing, and there was like a backlash to it. So there started being a lot of misinformation, I think, about how healthy you can be eating plant-based. And so I think we lost some traction after that, unfortunately, because I think they saw there was this growing movement. So some of the plant-based food companies that were doing really, really well, like on, not that this is necessarily the best um, way to identify if something's popular, but they were doing really well in the stock market, and then in the last couple of years they've had some drops. But I think in any movement, that's what's going to happen. You're going to make a lot of headway, and you're challenging norms, and then there's going to be some pushback, and then you challenge again. And we try to, like, I don't want to think of it as like, well, with people, we don't try to think of it as us or them. We're trying to say, hey, all of us as a society, we can benefit from eating more plant-based. The farmers are going to benefit from growing more healthy plant-based foods. Or if we are raising animals, raising them in more humane, sustainable conditions, and putting less subsidies and funding into large-scale confined animal feeding operations. So I think there is more awareness, but I think with that, industries who might lose profit from that, that's concerning to them. So I think it's also trying to say, how can we transition industries to seeing the benefits of
Yeah.
producing more plant-based products as a way to, like, stay current, and so I think that's part of it. But I do feel hopeful, and I think a lot more people are interested. And the fact that as a organization that promotes plant-based eating has official collaboration with a city government, I think that is really telling that more agencies are recognizing that we have to think about our food choices for the sustainability and well-being of people on the planet. And so I think as more municipalities are working on mitigating climate change, and they include food as part of that, that will also help to normalize that. This is a direction that is important to consider.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a question about funding. First of all, I shared this with Scott. I highly recommend this book to all of us if you haven't heard of it, Little Red Barns by Will Potter. He's an investigative journalist who is looking into factory farming, and he talks a lot about that industry backlash and how they've meddled with the UN scientists on climate, how they've used the same playbook as big oil and gas and tobacco to like sow doubt in people's minds and, draw attention away from the animal ag industry. I mean, it's a fascinating read and it's really well footnoted. So as you can see, I've got tons of tabs in here. I'm just going to write my next plant-rich diet article. I had a question about your funding. So where do you get the money for your staff time and your food giveaways, and all of that? And then a second question is, lots of Rotary clubs have rib fests and crab feeds and that sort of thing. So how do you have some suggestions for us about how to maybe get them to transition to a veg fest idea?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, those are really good questions. So, for our funding, when we started, we are member based and we're still member based today. So the members help to sustain our some of the work that we do. We generally have anywhere between 300 and 400 members. And then we have different levels, and we actually might be modifying our membership the way that we do membership, but currently we have certain levels that people pay. And it's mostly, being a member is just giving this certain amount every year that helps to fund our work. And then at certain levels we can give, like, we have little gifts that people can get, so that we are grateful to our members. And then we also have some very large donors that really believe in the work we do. And one of our large donors was really how we started the 30-day pledge program, and we could afford to do it. And that same donor gave us an in-kind donation for an office space, which is partly what allowed us to do it, and actually gave us a vehicle, so that we could, because when we're bringing like 50 bags of food to people, needs a lot of space. So we're very, very lucky that way. And then with our collaboration with the city of Ann Arbor, we are very grateful, and we have funding through that collaboration for the specific work that we do in Ann Arbor. And that work, we focus on food and climate specifically. So yeah, those are, and then there is a couple foundations that we get some funding from as well. So we've been very lucky that there are a couple large donors that really believe in the work we're doing, and then the other funding sources, help us to supplement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then, yeah. And then to answer your second question, I think if there's already established events that are happening, a way to help, build bridges is to say, like if you're having a crab festival, that could we have like a plant-based option at the crab festival that would be sort of similar taste or something, so whether it's using like something like, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not for being plant-based, as long as I am, I'm not like the best cook. I mean, I eat really simply. And then my spouse used to work at a plant-based restaurant, so he does all the cooking. But if there was something like, you could use some kind of tofu or tempeh or jackfruit to make some kind of like plant-based dish that's similar to what's being served, just as an option for people to try. And then, you could slowly see how it's being received, and maybe have a little bit more of the plant-based. And so if there's a way to kind of just say, hey, this should be an option, and then see how it goes, that could be a way to start. And then maybe, depending on, like, I don't know how many times you do festivals, but maybe one of them you could say, let's have one of these festivals be plant forward. So like a new one, instead of changing one that's currently existing, and that's just an opportunity to try. Maybe say, could one festival that we do in the year be more plant forward, and see how people receive that.
Those are good suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also try to advocate for it by showing how plant-rich foods and a plant-rich festival would be aligned with the Rotary's mission that already exists. Like, we have these missions that we want to do these things to benefit the community, and these are all the ways that having introducing people to plant-based foods at our festival would align with the work that we do.
That is huge. That is huge because a lot of clubs, they bring in like tens of thousands of dollars at some of these events, and they say, well, but it's funding our, charity work in the community,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you're undermining the community's health at the same time.
yeah, yeah.
Could I ask one more thing?
Sure.
Just your personal thoughts. I've really been wrestling with this notion that I hear a lot of people say, well, my food is my personal choice, right?
Yes.
And I keep thinking about, I mean, I'm old enough to remember smoking sections on airplanes. And, you know, the people who were smoking in the back were still negatively impacting everyone else, you know, on the plane. And I've been thinking about that with food. It's like, well, yes, it is a personal choice, but your personal choices are negatively impacting the entire planet and everything that lives on it. So,
Point.
I mean, we're in the
Yeah.
same place where we don't want to dictate to people and make them feel bad about what they eat, but I don't know how to get that notion that it's not just your personal choice.
Yeah, I so appreciate that you said that. In fact, just at we had this recent fall food and fun night. So it was like a mini festival. So it was like a third mini festival we did this year. And someone did come to the table and he said to me, you know, I understand if people are choosing to eat more plant-based, but why are you like advocating for that? Like, why are you telling people what to eat? So I said to him right away, I just want you to know I'm not telling people what to eat, but I do think that we all have a duty to be conscientious of our food choices. And I have a duty to spread awareness about the impact that our food has so that people can make choices that are more aligned. So I literally say exactly what you said. I often say in my presentations, well, I know that eating can feel very personal. We also have to recognize that our food choices are having an impact on other people, on other species, and our planet. And it's important to be aware of that impact so that we can make more conscientious food choices. So I feel like exactly what you said. It's important to share that. If we can say it up front, right, then people are a little less defensive. Like, you know, so usually at the top of my presentations, or if someone asks me, like, you know, why I'm making these food choices, I say I'm making these food choices because I recognize that my food choices are having an impact not just on my own health, but on the well-being of other people or species on the planet. And so I think that kind of helps to spread awareness. And I think even connecting it to smoking as an example, because people would say, why are you telling me I can't smoke in a restaurant anymore? Or, you know, there's a smoking section, so I'm not hurting you, even though there's no wall there. And so, like, you know, the smoke is floating over to the other part of the restaurant. And it's so interesting because I think people who have grown up after that was law, they probably can't even fathom smoking inside of a restaurant or, you know, a store or something. But at the time, it was so controversial, right? Like people felt like you were pushing. But now that we know about secondhand smoke and the cancer and all the respiratory problems and how you are impacting others. And so I think what we could say is, you know, with smoke, you might see more directly how secondhand smoke is affecting others. With our food choices, it's indirect. And so we might not see in front of us. But when we look at, you know, like I actually just did a presentation at Madonna University, and I have a slide where I just show a table with a plate. And I say, you know, this food that's on our plate, we have an indirect connection to the workers who brought this food to our plate. We have an indirect connection to the environment. We have an indirect connection to the animals. And, you know, we want to be conscientious of that even though we're not directly there, we live in a consumer society where we do vote with our dollars. And what we vote with when we purchase things, we're saying we want more of that. So if we are, you know, purchasing products that were made in a way that caused a lot of harm to the environment and animals, we're encouraging the industry to continue. If we make food choices where we're buying local fruits and vegetables, we're saying we want more of that. So, and again, I know it is hard and complicated, and I am not saying every food choice that I purchase is the most humane, but I try to be conscious of it, and I try to, you know, purchase more food choices that align with my values. So that's why I also tell people it's not all or nothing, because I'm not 100% always eating local, organic, you know, food. So, you know, for me with my values based on where I'm at, I decided I was going to be fully plant-based, and then I try to eat local or organic when I can. So we all have to decide for ourselves. So someone else might be less plant-based, but they eat local or organic, and they try to eat more plant-based a couple of days a week. So everyone has to decide for themselves, and we're not all going to decide the same thing, but we should all be conscientious. And, you know, I say to people, we all have to eat to live. So we all have a responsibility to think about where that food is coming from and the impact that it has. And then you'll decide for yourself. We're not going to all make the same choices, but we shouldn't just be eating without consciously thinking about it. Because a lot of the food that we have access to is not coming from a place that would align with our values.
That's really helpful framing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that you asked that. I think it's really important because I understand how people can think their food choices are just impacting them, and why should anyone be thinking about, like what someone else is eating at all. And I think we have to change that and say we're all responsible to think about where our food's coming
In fairness, a few years ago, I didn't have any idea
from.
about food and the environmental connection at all. So I'm really empathetic for others who haven't learned that yet.
Yeah, and I think we should share that. It's like I wasn't raised, eating plant-based. So I didn't always know. And that's actually part of the reason why I wanted to become a humane educator, was because I thought a lot of people don't know the impact of the choices that they're making. And for me, once I learned, I thought I would have changed my behavior sooner if I had known, and I would have worked on it on a systemic level sooner if I had known. So, it can be our personal choices. It can also be working on a systemic level. So we can pay attention to laws that are going to, incentivize more large scale farms in Michigan, or try to prevent more large scale farms and to support smaller local farmers and support farmers that are growing specialty crops, which are really just the fruits and vegetables and grains that we need to survive, right? So I think we can't make different choices if we don't know, and it really is hidden from view. I mean, even though over the time that I've done this work, when I first started doing this work, even going into a classroom with kids, and I would say, what do you think a farm looks like, right? And the majority of kids, when I first started the work, would picture this green grass with animals roaming around, yeah. And but near the end of my time at that organization, there would be a kid in the classroom who said, "Oh, a farm is big metal sheds with animals inside." Or like,
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it was amazing, because so there is some more awareness, but it's still trying to be hidden from view. So like if I go to the grocery store that's across the street from me, the conventional grocery store, above where the meat, eggs, and dairy are sold, there's a picture of an idyllic farm. That meat and eggs and dairy at that conventional grocery store did not come from that idyllic farm. So, it is hidden from view, and it is hard to know about the impact. Just like you said, you only learned it maybe a few years ago. The Guardian recently released an article where they analyzed like hundreds of articles that were writing about the issue of climate change. Only 4% of those articles talked about food and climate. So we should not really blame ourselves if we didn't know, because it is not being reported at on the scale of its contribution. So, fossil fuels and then agriculture are the two leading contributors to climate change. But fossil fuels are talked about at a much higher rate than the impact that agriculture is having. And the United Nations, they say that agriculture is 14 to 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, are coming from agriculture, and the majority of those contributions are coming from animal agriculture. Yeah.
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 A couple of questions. Going back to finances, what is your annual budget for VegMichigan?
Oh, that is a good question. And that is probably something I should know right off the top of my head. I don't want to say it's wrong, but I will ask Tom, who's the president of VegMichigan, my spouse, and I could get back to I could
I don't think I could eat often, but maybe I could eat maybe, I don't know.
Dawn,
What about, what's that one?
Dawn,
Oh, just a sec. Okay.
did you have a question?
And the other question that I had is, I've actually never been to a Veg Fest, so because I live on a little 18-mile long island, 1,200 miles out in the middle of the ocean, and could you describe, just what a Veg Fest is and the scope of it, and does it make any money? I mean, could it be a fundraiser?
Okay, that's a very good questions, Doug. And I will say I'm gonna check with Tom to make sure, but just thinking about it while you were talking, I think our annual budget is around $250,000, but I'll double check that. So a Veg Fest can be different things depending on who's putting it on. So at our larger Veg Fest, we basically, we coordinate a space. So our Spring Veg Fest every year now takes place at Eastern Market, which is a historic site here in Michigan in downtown Detroit. So it's outside, and we do free admission. There are some Veg Fests where they charge. We used to actually charge, and then if you remember, you got them for free. That was when we had it inside of this big. It was called the Novi Suburban Collection Showplace, and we did charge money. It was inside, but then during COVID, we had 2 years where we didn't do our Veg Fest, and then when we revitalized it, when we were first coming back, we didn't want to come back with that many people, like 5,000-6,000 people inside. So we did it outside. So we got this really nice space. So since it was outside and there were so many entry points, we said it's just going to be free. And we were really glad that we changed it that way, because it made it a lot more accessible to people who were new to this and who are veg curious. So, if you're totally new to it, you might not want to pay money because you're like, I don't know what this is. So we just decided to make it free. And we do have all the vendors who are there. When they're at the festival, everything they serve has to be plant-based. They don't have to have a fully plant-based menu at the regular establishment, but they have to have something at their establishment that's already plant-based, because the idea is to showcase all these businesses that have plant-based options so that people know where they can go outside of the festival to get things. So in our spring one, we usually have around 80 vendors. The majority are food vendors, and then we also have some eco-friendly shopping. We also have like plant-based hygienic products, so like cleaning products that weren't tested on animals and that are plant-based and not oil-based. Artwork that's like eco-friendly. Perfumes or soaps that are all eco-friendly and plant-based. So the festival is like all these vendors to showcase that. We try to make it a fun atmosphere. So we have some music. Then we have speakers throughout the day to have the educational component. So some of our speakers will do cooking demos so that people can see how to cook plant-based, and then they give samples of what they cooked. And then some of the presenters, and not always, but we'll oftentimes have one presenter who talks about why eating plant-based for animal ethics, why eating plant-based for the health, why eating plant-based for the environment. So we showcase kind of the different reasons. And then we do have kids activities as well. So we have like kids crafts and coloring books, and it's kind of things where kids can learn some reverence and compassion for animals, or how to eat healthy. And so like we have my plant-based plate where they can color like how plant-based proteins and where you can get all your different things. So we try to make it a really positive, joyful experience. All the food is for purchase, and so also making it free admission, people then can have more of the money to like buy the food and try that. But some people come and they don't have a lot of money, so they'll just go to the speakers all day, which are free and open to everybody, and then they'll get to have free samples from the cooking demos. So like I said, it depends on who's running it. There are different plant-based festivals or veg fests, but that's how we run ours. We make a little bit of money from that festival. That does help to fund some of our work the rest of the year. So I should have said that when you asked where we get money from. We do get some money from it. We don't make a ton of money. We could make more if we charged more for the vendors, but we don't want to charge more for the vendors because we feel like part of our role is giving all of those vendors that have plant-based options a really great day. So, we want them to make money because most of these are small businesses. And it's not easy to always have to be mostly plant-based or fully plant-based. So the ones that are doing that, they struggle sometimes. We've heard about plant-based businesses going out of business. So we try to say we're going to have a lower vendor fee because we want to elevate you and showcase you, and we want you to have a really good day. It's not to say that all the vendors need that much of a break, but we want to be fair to everybody. So we keep our fees low. And we make enough that it helps us to cover our costs and then to have funding for the other free programs that we offer throughout the year.
How much do you charge your vendors and how long is the festival? Is it multi-day or one day or what's the time length?
Yeah, so there are some veg fests that are more than one day. Ours is 1 day. That's currently kind of at our capacity, what we are able to do. So the one in the spring, I think it's something like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's the majority of the day. The one in the fall was a little smaller. It's a smaller event, like 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then our little fall food and fun night where we had around 900 people, that was 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So it was our first like kind of trying to do on an evening. And it was that one we did it more just like this fall food and fun night. So we were just trying to get people, hey, come on out, have a fun event. We had a bonfire, we had music and dancing and food. So we just wanted to see what it would be like. We're just having this fun festival like any other festival. The only difference is all the food happens to be plant-based. And so that was a really positive event as well. So it was a little smaller. And so I think we'll do that again. But in terms of what we charge the vendors, that depends. Like if they're a food truck where they're going to have like a bigger event and they can make more food in the food truck, I think we charge a little more. And then a food vendor that's not a food truck, they're a certain amount. And then if you're not a food vendor, so like you're selling like eco-friendly products, they're not going to make as much money. So we charge a little less for them. We also always have nonprofits. So we charge them a little less of a fee as a nonprofit. So it can vary. I mean, I would say my colleague Noelle, who oversees vendors for these events, she would be the better person to ask. But I think the vendor fees sort of range from like $100 to $250, depending on what type of vendor you are.
Okay.
Yeah. So did that answer all your questions, Doug? Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Hi,
I have
Catherine.
I have a question. Hi, I'm sorry for being so late. I have a new tire.
Oh, I'm so sorry you got stuck, and thank you for still joining.
It was my own fault. I cut a corner too closely and ran over in a divider. And anyway, my question is, do you do any follow-up with these people that attend to see if there's a long-term impact or a conscious impact?
That's a really good question. So at the festivals, like I said, it's difficult there, to stay in touch with them. But we do surveys at the festivals. So I'm not sure if you saw the presentation. I don't know if you were. So yeah, so we have survey results, and from our Spring Veg Fest, 76% of the people this year, 76% of the people who did not already identify as plant-based said that they plan to eat more plant-based after attending. And then I think it was something like 20% said that they maybe would eat more plant-based after attending. And then, so we had 8,000 people attend the festival. We had a sample size of 300 people. And at an event like that, where there's so much going on, it is difficult to get people to do a survey. So we were pretty happy with getting those 300. Part of what made that possible was we were very grateful. Seva, the restaurant in Ann Arbor, they donated like 600 cookies to us, like really delicious cookies. And so for whenever someone filled out a survey, they got a cookie. So that actually is what helped us to get those surveys, was we said, fill out a survey, get a cookie. And it really helped. So we had a couple different stations around the festival. And then we also had people going around the festival with the survey and saying, when you fill this out and you bring it to one of the stations, you'll get a cookie. So that helped a lot. And then the other festival that we did, our fall one, we had 1,800 people approximately attend. We got about 108 people to fill out those surveys. And it was similar numbers. A large majority of people who were not already plant-based said that they would eat more plant-based. And then like 20% said maybe. So most people are saying that they will probably eat more plant-based, or they will, and then some are open to it. And then we get higher results with our presentations and our 30-day plant-based pledge, because we have more of a we've built more of a relationship with those individuals. We've had more contact with them. We are trying to work on doing a 3-month out where we try to contact people who did our pledge 3 months later and 6 months later. So we want to do that. It's just getting people to respond is very hard. It's hard enough for the people who sign up for the 30-day plant-based pledge. We've built a relationship with them. They get a free bag of food. They get an email once a week with support. At the end of that month, getting people to fill that out. And we even have an incentive. They get into a drawing for a gift card to a plant-based restaurant, a restaurant that has plant-based options. So we're constantly thinking about how to increase the respondent rate. But we are trying to do follow-up because, that is important to us.
Great.
Other questions for Kim?
Just have one little quick one. That flyer that you had, or the slide that you had on the carbon footprint,
Yes.
Can we get a copy of that?
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. Yes.
That was really good.
Oh, thank you so much. I have to give my colleague Katie credit for that. She designed that, and the information is based on a study from the Center for Sustainable Systems at U of M. So I can email that. Should I email that to the email where we had this to Scott?
Yeah, you can send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm happy to share that with you. I'll make a note of that.
It's okay for us to use it.
So we have
keep your names on, keep your names on it.
Oh yeah, no problem. So we had a version that we created with our contract of Ann Arbor that was specifically for Ann Arbor, and then we have a similar version that's for outside of the Ann Arbor area.
Okay.
So I'll send you that one, and you're free to distribute it.
Oh wow, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've got so many ideas now. It's like
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. That's great to hear.
Give me a popcorn brain. So many.
Yeah.
Doug, we need to talk.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Oh yeah. I mean, my page is filled with stars next to everything I write.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That means a lot.
You.
Yeah. And again, thank you all for having this task force and the work that you're doing.
Well, Rotary's its own world unto itself sometimes. So we're trying to get Rotarians to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's I so appreciate that those of you who are Rotarians are thinking about this. It is you're ahead of the curve.
Everyone on this call, Kim, we were up in Calgary at the international conference, and we had Brenda Davis as a speaker, Salish Rao as a speaker, Corey Davis, Brenda's son, as a speaker. So,
I didn't know her son was in this work as well. Wow, that's amazing.
He's into the agricultural section, so he's trying to promote sustainable agriculture.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I could send you the playlist. There were several presentations that I recorded on my phone, and I'll send you the playlist if you want to hear some of those presentations.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great. I would appreciate that very much.
And Kim, I wanted to invite you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, which is that 9 o'clock for you guys?
It's 11. Oh no.
10?
10?
I think we're usually.
You want to
say that again? 9 o'clock.
7 a.m. Pacific. I put the link in the chat to listen to Silas Rao's presentation about There Is a Planet B.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
10 o'clock Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard Silas present, Kim?
So is this part of the climate healer?
Yeah, that's right.
So I have heard some climate healers, but I'm not sure if I heard Salish specifically before. So thank you for telling me. I'll have to check the schedule, but if I'm available, I would be interested.
And it will be recorded too, so we can get you the recording.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
He's got a really good.
I hope it will be.
He's got a really good book called There Is a Planet B that's free on Amazon, and you might add that to your quiver of arrows to share with people in Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm writing it down. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the inspiration and so many practical ideas to help us keep this work going.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, and thanks for all the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll pay you for the overtime since you went double.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me, Scott, and thanks to all of you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Fabulous.
Take
Thanks
care.
All
again.
right. Take care. Bye.
That was incredible.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, Kim came to, as part of her work with the city of Ann Arbor, she came to my former church, which was Westminster Presbyterian Church, and they actually put on a free plant-based buffet there. And the church had done a solar project, so they did a joint the people that did the solar project for the church made a presentation about the solar project, and then Kim gave a presentation like that also to the church, while they were serving this plant-based meal. So that's one of the things that, they're doing around the city of Ann Arbor. It's just amazing.
Since I missed her presentation, is there any way for me to see it?
Of
Yes,
course.
that's
Yeah, it's going to go up on our YouTube channel.
Okay, good.
Yay. Well, we have about 20 minutes left. Let's hit on a few things if we could. I hate to, that's so inspiring. It's like, oh, we've got to do some practical things. So first of all, daylight savings time ends on November 2nd. So I want to make sure that I've got the right times in for our meetings. I know that those of us in Pacific Mountain and Eastern time move back an hour, correct? We all fall back an hour. And then
Right,
Doug and Catherine, Atlantic time doesn't change, right?
correct.
Okay. And then Madhu, does India observe?
No, no, no.
So you stay the same. Okay.
For me, it's 8:30 p.m. constant.
Okay. And I think maybe the same.
No, well, excuse me. I always get these confused, but don't we change, Catherine?
No, we don't.
We don't change?
Nope.
No, we change, so it seems like you change.
Okay, right.
And I'll ask Chris Davies. I think the UK changes, but I'll double check.
So we usually meet at, you have down 11 for Eastern, but shouldn't it be 10?
Oh, I can find out right now from
I think
Corin.
it goes to 10.
Well, it will after November 2nd. But
Oh,
this,
all right. So the stuff in red is the current.
everything's going to go back.
Okay.
But then you need to add Atlantic time.
Yeah. So if that's 10, then it would become
on there.
7:30 p.m. for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
30?
Yeah.
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. I just want to make sure that, we're getting everybody in here. I don't want to miss anybody. And so I'll figure out with Chris about the UK. Good. Okay. Terrific. So our next meeting is November 4th. So it will be an hour earlier for those of us in red.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh,
That's-
oh joy.
So we're holding everybody else harmless, Chris, except for us Babylonians over here in
I
the
wish they'd
US.
stop. It's such a pain in the neck. Yeah. So we had talked, some of us attended the All Task Force meeting, and Caroline DeWitt, who is in charge now, I believe, of the projects division, and Tammy Mulcahy had asked for all ESRAG board members to join us and kind of explain the changes they're envisioning and how projects and task forces, how that interacts. And I was hoping that maybe Doug could talk a little bit about any follow-up. I will say personally, I didn't feel as though Caroline explained the difference between projects and task forces and how they interact and what kind of support we might expect. So I felt like it was not very helpful. But Doug, has there been any more discussion about that on the board?
Yes, there has. There's,
Can I stop us for a second here? Do you want me to keep recording, or do you want to
No.
go off the record at this
Shouldn't.
point?
Good
Absolutely.
point. Yeah, let's stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Where's my button? I'm trying to push my own button here. Let's see.
I miss you
Um,
guys.
Here.
Oh, how are you?
Stop
I'm
recording.